Welcome to the Unbearables podcast. I'm Brandon Ruiz, and I'm here with
Zeke Cappel,
Big Chub,
and Emilio.
And first things first, I just want to let you guys know again to check out our Twitter account. A link will be in our description, so you should check that out for just updates on when the next video will come up. And also, we wanted to talk about some Bulls news.
Today I wanted to talk about Rudy Gay because I think, especially if we draft Michael Porter Jr., he'd be really big in developing our young wing players. Because the way Rudy Gay plays, he's a long, good forward, and the best part about Rudy Gay is that he's able to score, and he could teach our other guys how to be a valuable, more efficient
more
scorer.
Aggressive.
More aggressive, yeah. If you watched last season, I'm not going to say Denzel Valentine is equal to Rudy Gay, but Denzel Valentine could have taken strides to become a lot better, and he didn't because he wasn't aggressive enough. And I think Zach LaVine could become more aggressive at scoring. I think overall Rudy Gay defensively and offensively would just help the team out a lot.
Yeah, I definitely think if the Bulls, because I know they have interest in Chandler Hutchinson, Miles Bridges, and MPJ, because they've just they've shown interest, and I think those types of players, maybe not Miles Bridges as much as the others, could really use some type of an aggressive playing style that they can add to their type of play, which is a problem with a lot of players coming up now. Just even looking at Jason Tatum. He seems like he has been getting more aggressive as the season went on, especially in the playoffs, but there is a lot in his game where you look at it and you're like, hey, if he was just a little bit more aggressive, if he had some post moves, if he was able to back somebody down, he would add so much more to his game. That's also a big reason why LeBron is so valuable, because LeBron is a small forward who basically does that all. He has his jumper, which he has developed over time, and he has the ability to score in the post, and just he has so many other tools to in his toolbox, and that's a lot of things that guys now don't have because all they want to do is shoot threes. So I think having a player like Rudy Gay to toughen up those other guys, like you're saying, would actually really help the Bulls, and having that veteran presence would be very important.
Right, exactly. And that's not where this team is headed, exactly what you just said. It isn't headed to be a three-point shooting team. That's the difference why the Bulls they weren't that effective off the bat here, because at the end of the day, if you're not making that three ball, even if you defend correctly, even if you get some good looks in the mid-range, you might just not add up at the end of the game. But yeah, I think Rudy Gay would definitely be a good presence, especially if once they get into the playoffs. You need that veteran mindset to get to that next level.
Yeah, I could see that. I know what you guys are all saying. But I would also be fine if we didn't take him, just because I want to move with the young movement. But yeah, that'd be awesome. We took him because he would just kind of give our young guys that mindset. And definitely because most of our players, we need forwards that are more tough, and he would definitely help with that. Because I would say Robin Lopez would help, but he's a center. So even though we're still teaching these young guys,
we do need people that are more tough though, in a sense of this though, because I do understand what you're saying, because I used to also be just keep on getting more and more young guys. But then when Big Chub brought up that point in one of our episodes about needing Rudy Gay, and I was completely overlooking that, because yes, I knew Rudy Gay was a free agent in this upcoming free agency, he's going to be there, but I never thought of him as being a veteran presence in that type of role. Now, like you said, Robin Lopez is there as a veteran presence, but at the same time, he will never bring anyone on that team in a new type of scoring ability that Rudy Gay could potentially, because of how he scores. It's a very different way in how Robin Lopez does. Robin Lopez either does that weird looking sky hook, but weird.
Hey, it works though. It works.
Weird looking. It does work. Or he shoots from the free throw line, and it just, you know what I mean.
I think Robin Lopez is just going to teach Lauri Markkanen how to throw hook shots just way too hard.
Bro, chill out. He's not going to teach him
way
that.
too hard.
Bro, the problem is this dude's way too close to the basket when he's launching the ball to the backboard. Yeah. But he be throwing his thighs into them sky hooks, bro. I don't know. The thing is, Rudy Gay, Robin Lopez, at the end of the day, Robin Lopez, he's just, though he is a veteran, he doesn't bring to the table what Rudy Gay can bring. Mm-hmm. And specifically what Big Chub is saying, to toughen up them forwards. And I want to address what you said, Zeke. The younger movement. It's the right way to go with the Bulls. Not only is it the right way, it's the only way. They just can't really... They have nothing else to do. But that's exactly what Chub is saying. It's because of that young movement. That is why Rudy would be so valuable on that team.
Also, it seems like that's the only way they can go because the Bulls haven't really been able to pick up a top free agent in, like, I don't even remember when was the last, like, really great free agent that the Bulls got. And do not say Carlos Boozer.
I was about to say it.
Do not say
his
15-8. Like, come on, man.
Look, he was good the season before.
Look,
No, he was, but he was still good the season after, but definitely not as good. But definitely not.
I wasn't like just trying to say like, oh, I just want all young players. I was just saying like, I'd be fine if we didn't take him. Also, you got to consider the fact that if he's a free agent, right? Would he even want to come to Chicago? I mean, he's been the NBA for a long time. He could always go somewhere else. But then we could always pick up someone else, you know?
The thing is, though, we could always pick up someone else, but all those other people are going to, all those other people who can provide that role, I think, are going to go to championship teams. And when you look at, you know what I mean? You look at the
But that's
Bulls,
what I'm saying about Rudy Gay too. Like he could just be like, "Oh, I want to play for Boston now."
but the
you
thing
know?
is,
Or the
though, those
Warriors.
teams have to want him. Those teams have to want him, though. And I don't know if those types of teams are going to want Rudy Gay, and if the Bulls could potentially give him the best contract because they have a lot of cap space. So while those teams don't want him, and some of them might have the cap space, like the Philadelphia 76ers or the Lakers, it's not going to really matter because they're not going to want him. They're going to want a better player, and they're going to be chasing after that type of player, while the Bulls could just say, hey, look, maybe this is what we need to develop our guys, and if we give Rudy Gay enough money, in the long run, a lot of players take the money instead of taking the championship. Just look at like what Shaq did when he was like, bro, I didn't want to stay on the Lakers because, like, you know, they offered me like 20-something million, and that was an insult. So I had to walk.
He got traded.
No, I know, but that was what he said on that's what he said on TNT, was that's why he didn't want to be in the Lakers anymore. That's why they were telling him the next year they're going to offer him a contract, and he said he wasn't going to like the contract. And so he was like, that's why I got traded, essentially. Also, Kobe didn't want him there, but that's what I'm saying. A lot of people will take the money over the championships, and that's what Shaq said in that situation, because he said they would have won 8 championships if he had really tried to stay with the Lakers.
But knowing this Bulls front office, Rudy Gay would be here for 5 years and like a lot of money for no reason. They'd give him a crappy contract, and it'd be insane, and it would backfire. So I don't want him here because they can give him a lot of money. I want him here because he's older and he doesn't need that much money.
Right, you don't want him here because they'll give him a lot of money, but you know who would? Rudy Gay.
I mean, yeah,
Look.
but I don't want the Bulls to offer him that much money, because what happens with that is then you're stuck with money on your books when there's good free agents out there that could essentially fill the hole that you have from having these young guys. Because, you know, you look at a lot of really young teams, and then they get to that point where they're like championship or not, and they add someone in the offseason, a guy who is an all-star or he's like borderline all-star, and they add him and they put them over the top. The Bulls, with Rudy Gay's money on the books, that would be harder to do.
Well, the thing is about this Bulls team, though, is that this draft could potentially give them everything they need. And it is possible, because if you say Zach LaVine pans out, I'm not saying he's going to, but if he does, that's a good thing. If he's just a solid player. Now, if you potentially get Michael Porter Jr. and he pans out, that means you have a stud, like a player who can just do anything on the court. And I'm not saying that's going to happen, but if it does, then you're cool. And if the Bulls pick up Chandler Hutchinson, who in my opinion, down the line could maybe even be a superstar because of his scoring ability, and you may disagree, but from what I've seen, that's all I can say, and that's how I judge people, because like that's how I judged Donovan Mitchell before the season, and he turned out to be a really good player. Now, I'm not always going to be right, but if the players they Bulls get pan out, they will have a good player at every position, and then they'll just need to get a center. But at the end of the day, if they do get Michael Porter Jr. and they get Chandler Hutchinson and they all pan out and they have this, they could do better on point guard with Chris Dunn. I will agree with that. But if they have Chris Dunn and Zach LaVine, Chandler Hutchinson, Michael Porter Jr., and Lauri Markkanen, if those players pan out, that is a very, very good squad. And honestly, that might be what the Bulls need.
What I'm thinking is with Rudy Gay in the books, after those guys start to pan out, I don't think Chris Dunn's the point guard of the future. I like him now, but I don't see him as a starter on a championship team. Okay. But
Yes, sir. Finally coming to your senses.
I never liked Chris Dunn that much. I'm the one who always craps on him.
Well, I mean, I said that. I remember in like the very first podcast I was talking about that. I always thought you were challenging me.
No.
Wait, that was with Jack.
That
Never
was
mind.
with Jack. That
Yeah.
was with Jack.
Well, okay. Forget what Zeke said. At all. Shut up, Zeke.
All right, I'm sorry, dude. I didn't mean to offend you.
At all.
It was like at all, man.
Okay, but I think they can sign. There's going to be guys in free agency within the next few years that are the added veteran to a really young team, such as Kemba Walker in a year or two, such as a couple of centers who go out. And I'm thinking that if Rudy Gay's money's on the books, that'd be harder to do.
It won't be as difficult as you think, though, because if you resign, there's like a higher cap for when you're resigning players that you drafted or players that the team drafted and you acquired them through a trade. And I know you know that type of stuff, so it would be maybe difficult. But I also just want to say I really don't think, even though if the Bulls give Rudy Gay a pretty big contract, they're not going to have to give him a huge contract because I don't think anyone this offseason is going to give Rudy Gay that. So they just have to give him a good one. A good enough offer.
The Bulls have a lot of money they could spend if you look at it because they have the only player making money right now is probably Robin Lopez, and that's it. And everyone else is everyone else is on small
Sheik
contracts.
is also making good money, but
Sheik is making crazy money for a dude who hasn't played a
Felicio
minute
has the
for
highest
Bulls.
guarantee on the Bulls.
Really?
Yeah, he has the highest
That's
guarantee.
insane.
To play in the
Cristiano
G League.
Felicio.
To play in the G League.
Emilio doesn't have a mic right now, but he said, "Who?"
No, but I'm thinking even this offseason we could get somebody. Like, if we have that money, but I think we re-sign Zach LaVine to a decently large contract. And I think if we can get Rudy Gay for not, like, huge money, but smaller money, like, in between what you think he should be paid and what he'd be paid 5 years ago, perfectly fine.
I feel like we could trade. I don't really feel like Zach LaVine's, so far, what I've seen, I don't think he's going to become this great player. Yeah, I don't think if he is that great, we could trade him for future draft picks.
I don't find him to be, like, insanely great.
Yeah.
I find him to be that go-to scorer you need on a team, on a championship team. If you look at it, there's a guy who's not going to average 25 a year. I think he's going to average 18, 19, 20 points a year. And but you're going to have other guys in the team who play better. Like, that's why Lauri Markkanen breaking out the way he did is very reassuring to me. Because Lauri Markkanen's going to be one of the real leaders of your team. But Zach LaVine is going to be like a fall-to option when no one else can score. You just give the ball to him.
All right. So this is what I have to say about that. All right. Zach LaVine is not better than Steph, Clay, Draymond, or KD. He's not better than all of them. Like, I don't really feel like he could be like that third option on a team in the future because I don't feel like he'll get better and pan out. That's what I'm saying. But that's like, I feel like with the potential he could have in other teams, we could bait someone into getting future round draft picks. Obviously, for not this year because there's no shooting guard to replace him. But I feel like if we trade him for first round draft picks for like next year or the year before, we could get a really good shooting guard.
You know what team also needs more players though?
What team?
The Cavs. So going into the finals news, though, I just wanted to talk about basically a lot of people are talking about it right now. And would the old Cavs squad from earlier this season be better than this current squad? And I know this is like some things that maybe some people will just easily say no. But a lot of people are saying that like maybe having Derrick Rose on the team or Dwayne Wade in this team to have someone who can like, kind of create their own shot would be very helpful. Yeah, or Crowder, which is like his defensive ability, like all these players that could potentially maybe be helpful on this team, would make a pretty big difference. But I just want to know what you guys think.
I think the Cavs team from earlier this season. I said earlier no, but now that I rethink it, I definitely think that team's better. It's just the addition of Dwayne Wade to that squad was a really big problem because of the way him and LeBron grouped together in the locker room, and everyone else was kind of excluded from that. And I think if it was minus Dwayne Wade, it would definitely be a lot better because I think they would have better chemistry. And I think, this second half team's all right because they're younger, but Rodney Hood sucks. Jordan
that is not true.
Jordan Clarkson sucks.
Phil facts. Chub facts. Yeah.
They're not
Rodney
good.
Hood sucks.
He does.
No, he doesn't.
He does. He's not.
He averaged 17 before he went to the Cavs.
Yeah, but he's not
17.
Yeah.
That's not like 25. What?
Wait,
That's not like 25. Give him the
We
Emilio.
also know the order of numbers, and we understand that is not above 25.
Yeah.
Chub fact.
Chub facts.
Okay, but
Man, this is
I'm
definitely
saying
going on Chub
Rodney Hood
facts.
right now. Rodney Hood is not.
What
the
about that
basket-
game he had yesterday?
I didn't even see.
What about when he
did.
averaged 17 before he went to the Cavs?
Okay, and then he went to the Cavs and he couldn't play to LeBron's system.
No, let me give you a.
And
That's
he
not
sucks
his
right
fault.
now.
Wait, guys.
And he
That
sucks.
doesn't mean he sucks.
That doesn't mean he
He
sucks.
sucks
He
right
sucks in
now.
the system.
Wait, maybe he
Right
doesn't
now.
though, because he just had a good game in the finals against the
Yeah,
best
he didn't
team
get a
in the
chance
league.
at all.
Against the best team in the league, might I add. So maybe he doesn't suck. I think a big problem with this Cavs team is that they keep on playing switch up. So no one gets to have time to learn how to play with each other. Every season they change up the team so much at the end of the season. How are you going to, or even the middle of the season, how are you going to expect a team to have good chemistry when you switch up the team constantly? Especially if you did it during the beginning of the season, like in a free agency type move, and you let the team play out, then maybe it would be okay. But do you really think if having to change your team all the time in the middle of the season or at the end of the season is good for your team's chemistry? Even if you have LeBron James, you still have to have your other players learn how to play with each other. And when you move them and keep on constantly move them, how are they going to do that?
Exactly, and that is even when you see the way that Golden State utilizes KD. Obviously, best scorer in the world right now, in my opinion. But when he is not on, he still takes the shots. And obviously, this is at a different level because I mean, he's the stud. That's even people argue that that's the problem with Golden State is that they turn to each other and they say, well, who is the man? Is it Clay? Is it Steph? Is it Draymond? I don't know why you would say that. Or is it KD? But whatever it is, the point is, even when he's off, even when his shot isn't falling in the first half, they let him keep going. And one of the problem with the shooters on the Cavs is that doesn't happen at all. They miss those first 2-3 threes in the first half, and they're not shooting again.
Well, a lot of the players on the Cavs say that it is a big weight to play with LeBron because they feel like everyone's looking at what they're doing all the time. Because it has to be. I mean, LeBron's always going to play well. He's always going to play an amazing game, especially in the playoffs. I mean, there has been times in the past where he hasn't. But if we're generally he has...
Just the 2011 series.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's all.
But generally he has been... I mean... That's still, pretty important in the finals.
Yeah,
to not
but I
play
mean, there
well.
were still 4 Hall of
I'm just
Famers
saying.
on that team,
I'm-
so like you can't hate on them that much.
None
All right,
of-
we're
none
not
of-
talking
Yeah, we're not
about
talking
this.
about that. Chub facts again.
Yeah.
None of them are
Chub
Hall of
facts.
Famers yet, so you can't call them Hall of Famers.
Okay,
can't
Dirk's Dirk's
Dirk
for
is
sure.
definitely-
Sean Marion's making it. Jason Terry's
Chub
making
facts.
it. Jason Kidd's
Chub
making
facts.
it.
Chub facts.
What is there to debate?
Jason Kidd probably gonna make it, but those other
An
two,
elderly Jason
it's not the
Kidd.
Hall of
Oh
Good.
my God, bro! The
Okay,
bar
wait,
is so low
wait,
that
wait,
they're
wait.
definitely Hall of
okay.
Famers.
So, anyways, what I'm saying is that these Cavs players, they break up their team, right? They break up their team all the time, and so with this weight of playing with LeBron and having to worry about the media criticize you constantly, because it is never the media-wise LeBron James' fault for them losing a game, which I can understand why they make that assumption. They say those things because he's always playing well. But the thing is, though, if you miss, then you feel all the weight of the media going, LeBron has no help. You weren't doing your job, this and that. But they never are able to get into a rhythm with each other either. So how are you supposed to be good when you're afraid to suck and you haven't learned how to play with each other?
Something that's really bothers me, and it kind of connects to what you're saying, is like with the LeBron excuses thing, is when the Cavs got their new team, like halfway through the season, they traded everyone. If you look back on all like the sports commentary shows, the hype was real. They were like, LeBron's got a team now. He's going to win the finals.
Cavs won that trade.
Yeah, and the Cavs won, and they got all this. And as soon as they start playing bad, it's, LeBron has no help. And it's just like people need to start being more consistent with their points with LeBron. I understand he's the greatest of our generation, but that's just – and he does deserve some of the excuses he gets today, of course. But it's just the fact that all the hype around this team about how great they were going to be and how great they actually turned out is something that that team should be criticized for. And it's not.
I think what Brandon said is probably the biggest point with me. It is even what I said when I referenced the KD shooting thing. They didn't learn how to play with each other. And that's exactly why the old squad would have been better right now in the playoffs. It's because they have the experience in which they can throw it all to the side. But when these guys, like especially like Nance, who I think personally has a potential to be a better player, whatever. The point is, those guys, Jay Crowder, Dwayne Wade, even Isaiah Thomas, like when it's all said and done, their hearts are in for winning. They have been on successful teams to an extent before. And when you have that, I mean, Dwayne Wade for sure. I mean, he has rings. But when you have that experience, when you have those years, come around the playoffs,
you have a different mentality.
Exactly. There's a different mentality. It's a different league.
And you know how to play playoff basketball. Like, look at how Dwayne Wade turned it on in that Heat series. Like, there's a big difference. Also, with that old Cavs squad, a big problem was that after Derrick Rose got hurt in the beginning, because it did look like in the beginning that they actually knew how to play with each other, because LeBron was actually letting Derrick take up the ball, and he was letting them, like, play through the players. But then once Derrick went down, that's when LeBron said, oh my gosh, I need to take over now. And ever since then, he never let any of his players play any of their roles.
I don't think Derrick Rose was the main cause of that, though. If I'm honest
going
with
down.
you.
I think Derrick Rose going down caused LeBron to take that mentality.
Yeah.
After a while, like I saw LeBron at the beginning of the season, like he's going to make his best attempt to win the MVP this season, because he can't legitimately beat the Warriors.
Well, the way that he plays, it's like, if he doesn't win the MVP, it's kind of weird because he forces himself to be the leader of the team all the time in every situation. Well, almost every situation. But the thing is, though, what I was trying to get at is that if Derrick Rose doesn't get hurt, it seemed like during that time. We have to say if Derrick Rose doesn't get hurt. When we heard that before, but anyways, but if Derrick Rose doesn't get hurt, that team actually in the beginning of the season looked like they were playing actually really well together. They were all playing their roles. They were filling into their spots. But after that happened, it was like everyone just pushed that all to the side because, I mean, LeBron did need a little bit of help then, and they didn't know how to play with each other. And then when Derrick Rose came back and he had to play with Dwayne Wade on the court, Dwayne Wade would take the ball up if the only way Derrick Rose is effective is if he brings the ball up. And so that's a big problem. So after that happened, it kind of really did mess with their team chemistry a lot. But I just feel like if that didn't occur, that team would be a lot better later on in the playoffs. But this team, they just don't know how to play with each other, and a lot of their players just can't.
I think the only trade that should have been made was the Isaiah Thomas trade. I think all the other trades were pretty invaluable. Maybe Dwayne Wade was a smart move. That might have been something legitimate.
All they got was a second-round pick for that one.
Right. I think they got nothing back. And the best trade that they made was the Isaiah Thomas trade. I think Larry Nance is really valuable to their team. And Jordan Clarkson, I don't like him very much. I liked him when he got there, but he hasn't played to what I thought he would. But that's because LeBron.
Yeah, Lakers definitely won that trade because every Lakers fan was mad when they were like, oh, Larry Nance and Jordan Clarkson for the 5'9" midget, That's what they were saying. But Jordan Clarkson, Magic saw clearly wasn't panned out what he used to be. What is he, the fourth, fifth year in the league or whatever, and is still like just a decent scorer, and that's what they need him to be.
Also, though, with that Lakers trade, they were just really mainly doing it to clear up the cap space, so they can be like, "Yo, LeBron, Paul George, we got a spot here for you."
And it's smart because here's the thing: it's like they don't even have to keep Isaiah if they want to, too, because he's gonna ask for the max because he's an idiot.
So. But
I don't think at this point he's going to ask for the max.
Oh, I think he is definitely.
One thing though I want to say is that like, if the Cavs need help, if people think the Cavs need help now, they're going to think they need a lot of help when LeBron's on another team next season.
When LeBron's on another team next season, the Cavs are probably the worst team in the East.
Oh, definitely.
Oh,
but here's the thing. But I mean, it's definitely like towards the bottom. But here's the thing. When people say that, like, remember when LeBron left the first time and they said it was the worst team and stuff, the system was built around LeBron's, so you can't really knock them for that. If you put your entire system around LeBron, of course the team is going to be bad. They got to rebuild the whole thing. There's so many teams that are built not like that. Like, if you took Steph off the team right now, they wouldn't be as good. They'd still be fine. Same with KD. It's just every team LeBron's been on, it's the whole thing's around him. Like, the entire team's built around him, and as soon as you take him out of the equation, they're not that good.
I can't wait, though, until LeBron gets to play off the ball a lot more and doesn't have to be a point guard for his team. But now, talking about point guards, though, like, who's your top 5, though?
All right, so
all time.
Me,
All time.
Zeke Cappel, made a top 10 list. I'm only going to read 5. We'll probably only get to 5 because I feel like there's going to be a lot of arguing.
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 I'm ready for this.
Hold up. I got to find it now. I didn't know you were going to do
Chub
it
facts
right
for all 4 people.
Okay, so you guys ready? All right, so number 1.
No, I'm not
is-
ready actually.
Okay.
Start at number 1.
Yeah,
Yes.
start at number 5.
5. Oh.
Yeah, build suspense.
Number 5. All right, gotcha. Well, everyone
them
knows
what
what
you're
number
doing.
1 is. I
We
feel
already
like
know.
Just go.
I feel
number 5.
okay. Number 5, Jerry West. Okay.
Okay.
He was the only person in NBA history to win Finals MVP, not being on the winning team. He has a chip. He's been in the finals so many times, even though he's known for such a choker.
You know, he's on the logo.
Yeah, the amount of times he's been in. Oh, I just shut my phone off. But the amount of times he's been in the finals has been ridiculous, and it's just kind of like LeBron. He just did that so many times. Okay, and number 4, I have, and this is gonna be the first disagreement with you guys. I have Oscar Robertson, just because. Look at it like this. Okay. He was triple-double before Westbrook, and he didn't even know he averaged a triple-double until he went to the film. And you might be like, well, triple-doubles don't mean as much anymore. If you look at the way he played, he did not play like Westbrook. He didn't even stat pad. He was the person on the team, and that's why he played that hard. He threw out assists because in that era, it was different. You built around one guy. He was the first point guard to be like, all right, we're going to build our team around a point guard, which didn't necessarily work, but he's got 1 ring from it.
And he averaged a triple-double and then almost did 2 other years. I think it might have been right after it.
Exactly.
But he could have averaged 3 times.
It's just the thing is like assists and rebounds weren't really recorded like that back then. He didn't know he even averaged a triple-double until we went back in the film. We looked at all the play and we recorded like, oh, he made a point this time, and went back and we're like, oh my gosh, he actually averaged a triple-double. All right. And so for number 3, I have Steph Curry. And look, he might be a little bit too high for you guys, and obviously you guys are allowed to get mad at that. But the number 1 thing for me with people being on list is accolades, okay? And Steph Curry has by far passed everyone else that's behind him that was on that top 10 list, besides like maybe the 2 guys in front of him, okay? He doesn't have a Finals MVP, but he has 2 chips. He's about to get a 3rd, and I'm going to basically count that 3rd chip just because they're up 3-0.
Wait, but
okay?
if
well, it didn't happen yet. So.
Okay.
Wait, but
it's
wait,
gonna
wait,
happen.
wait. So if
Yeah,
you're
you're
talking
right.
about accolades, though, like, wouldn't that make Isaiah Thomas go above Jerry West? 'Cause he
Isaiah
has
Thomas?
2.
I haven't even mentioned him yet, though.
Oh, so
Yeah. We don't gotta jump the boat right now. Okay, so we're talking about who are we talking about again? Sorry, I spaced
your
out.
list.
Okay,
Chub facts.
Chub facts. Dude, you guys gotta chill on my name, all right? I'm sorry. Okay,
Chub facts.
Steph Curry. How did I forget that? Okay, so he is the greatest shooter in NBA history. He has the most threes for a season. He's gonna finish with the most threes ever. He is the first unanimous MVP. These are all things that the other guys haven't accomplished yet. And the only reason why he didn't win Finals MVP that 1 year, and he didn't choke, by the way. He averaged 26 points that series. The only reason why is because Iguodala was guarding LeBron, and LeBron still averaged like 40 points a game. They just gave it to the person who guarded LeBron. Iguodala, I know he stepped up and he played in the starter position, but it was pretty clear that Steph was the better player. I mean, you can argue that Iguodala was like the game changer, but the only reason why they won the series was because of Steph. Okay. Any disagreements with you guys at Steph at 3rd?
I mean, let's just go on. I'll tell you what my disagreement is later, but
He's
okay,
not at
yeah.
3 on my list, but I mean,
All right.
I don't disagree
So-
with you for what you said.
Number 2, I have Isaiah Thomas.
What?
All right. So Isaiah Thomas is, a lot of people don't realize the greatness of him. First off, he is the best smallest guard in NBA history. He was 6 foot tall, and he led his team to 2 championships, and he at least had 1 Finals MVP from it. I don't remember the exact number, but it was at least 25. He put up 25 points in a quarter in a playoff game where his leg was hurt. He was the only player to really.
Sorry. Smallest guard or smallest point guard? Because if you're saying smallest guard, there are a
I
ton
meant
of people.
smallest point guard because
Okay.
Allen Iverson would be in the
Okay,
conversation,
yeah,
but he's better
Allen
than him,
Iverson.
so.
Wait, who's better than Allen Iverson?
Isaiah Thomas.
I don't know because everyone always says he's best pound for pound player ever.
Allen Iverson?
And and I mean like they're the same. If they're saying
okay,
no,
well,
wait. So, I mean, if they're saying Allen Iverson is the best pound for pound player and Isaiah Thomas and him are like the same height, then that means that they're saying he's better than Isaiah Thomas.
Okay. Well,
I think he's better.
If you think that Allen Iverson is better than Isaiah Thomas,
I'm not counting accolades, just counting like looking at them.
but here's the thing: if Isaiah Thomas accomplished all of that, and Allen Iverson didn't even get a ring, wouldn't you say he underperformed his whole career if you think he was better?
Isaiah Thomas had better teams.
It was also that Isaiah Thomas's teams were able to like mug
Well, it's not
people
like they were like the
while they were playing
Lakers or
basketball.
the Bulls or something. They
They
were
were the teams that beat the Lakers and the Bulls.
yeah, the Pistons.
The Pistons
That's the
beat
thing,
the
but
Bulls, though.
yeah, but I know what I'm saying. This is what I'm saying. Wait, dude, don't do that. I'm about to get on your ass right now. Okay.
Watch your language.
My bad. Okay, so the reason why he was so great was because he was the best player on those teams that beat them.
Do you think
His team
Isaiah
was
Thomas
not,
could have carried that Sixers team to the finals?
That's exactly what I was about
but
to
you
say.
can't say that. You can't say that because the teams were built differently around them. That's so unfair
Well,
to say.
they would play the
you
same
can't be like
exact
you
role,
can't be
though.
like, well, KD, if you
Wait,
put him
but
on
they
the
would play
Cavs,
the
he wouldn't
same
be as
exact
good.
role. But on that team though, Isaiah Thomas and Allen, there's a pretty good comp.
No,
Because-
Isaiah was more of a passer.
No, but Allen Iverson and Isaiah would have to be the leaders of the team,
But that-
and bring the ball up like that. In the same way that they would play in a similar role though. So it is actually a pretty good comp to say would he be able to bring that Sixers team up? It's not like saying like would Larry Bird be able to bring that team up, that Sixers team up, because Larry Bird and Allen Iverson are completely different players.
Right.
But
Like,
they had
in terms of
different
how they
roles on
help
the
their
team. They not completely different, but their roles were different. Like Isaiah Thomas wouldn't be able to fill in,
Isaiah Thomas was definitely a scorer on his team.
but he wouldn't be able to fill in for Allen
was
Iverson just because he wasn't as fast as him and he didn't have the things Allen Iverson did. But same goes with Isaiah Thomas because Allen Iverson wouldn't be able to pass or make the good guys because there'd be times at the end of the games where Isaiah Thomas, well, he would usually take the last shot, but he would pass it out, and Allen Iverson would never be able to do that.
I mean, I don't think Allen Iverson has no passing ability like you're making it sound.
Well, I'm not.
I'm just
saying that Isaiah Thomas is one of the best passing guards ever, and Allen Iverson isn't. He wouldn't be able to fill that role.
Finish your list.
Okay. I'm sorry.
He was like, "Finish your list, get it over with."
all right,
It's my turn.
Magic Johnson. There's no arguing here.
Yeah.
Five rings. He won three of the. He has 3 Finals MVPs.
No, he also played center.
Which means he has that
For,
whole
like,
time he
one
played.
series.
Yeah,
It was a good series though.
that
His rookie season, and he won Finals MVP with that. it was insane.
It was a good job.
Still
I'm
the
not
best point
taking
guard of all
anything away
time.
from him. I was just pointing out that he did it. you know?
those 5 rings he got more than Kareem. Kareem only got 1 Finals MVP out of those 5, and then I think Robert Parrish or whatever is who was that? Who was
Robert
the
Parrish was on the Celtics.
no?
Celtics.
Yeah, Celtics. Who was the guy in the Lakers?
Robert
James
Horry?
Worthy.
Robert. No, not
James
Robert
Worthy.
Horry. James Worthy. He was the other guy that got the Finals MVP.
Yeah.
So he got 3 Finals MVP. He was a multiple-time All-Star. Ever since he was in the league, he dominated every single year. And I mean, I don't even know why I'm still talking about him because everyone still has him at 1.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go Big Chub.
All right, I'm gonna hit this.
Oh
Number
yeah, we
5.
also call Phil Big
wait,
Chub
wait, wait.
sometimes.
I want to pull this out.
didn't ever mention that on the podcast. So if I call him Big Chub or any of us do, we're talking about Phil.
I
Yeah.
want to say this before you start your list. Notice how I didn't have Stockton in my top 5.
I don't have him in mind either. So.
Oh, I thought there'd be. I thought you guys would be
I have
pissed
him
about
in
that.
mine.
Yeah.
All right,
No,
I
I
got.
don't know.
All right, here I go. Number 5,
Mine.
Steph Curry, best shooter of all time. He's one of the best scorers of all time. It's obvious he should be in the top 5. I don't have him higher yet until the end of his career. Number 4 is Steve Nash, and
All right, I'm just gonna walk out of the room right now.
Wait, wait,
2
wait.
MVPs.
Why you act like
Steve
it's
Nash is an argument for sure.
Wait, why do you guys think that John
Mm.
Stockton is ridiculous to be in the top 5? You're going to put Steve Nash there.
Because John
Dude,
Stockton
that's why I
didn't win
said I'm
MVPs.
leaving.
John Stockton didn't win MVPs. John Stockton wasn't the best player on his team.
Exactly, and that's what people don't take into account. He wasn't even a franchise player, and everyone's like, well, how is he not in your top 5? Do you see his assist? Yeah, well, if he was in top 5, he definitely heavily underperformed. Never got a ring, never got anything.
It's not his fault.
Whose fault it was?
Time out.
Jordan's?
Time out. No, it's not his fault that he wasn't the best player on his team. He was still amazing. It's just that he happened to have Malone there too. Is it his? Would he be like, Malone, get out here so I can be the best
Okay,
player
if
on this
Karl
team
Malone
now."
wasn't on that team, though, he wouldn't be a franchise player.
The team wouldn't be that good without Karl Malone. They wouldn't make it to the finals. They wouldn't be able to do any of it, what they're able to do. John Stockton's stats look great because Karl Malone was there.
Okay,
come on,
I would
bro. It's not
disagree with
The
that.
only,
because
the
Karl-
only
Look.
reason John Stockton averaged so many assists is because all he had to do was go into the lane and just dish it to Karl Malone. It's an
I
automatic
agree.
assist every time.
Okay, dude, I agree that he got a lot of assists from Karl Malone, but his stats were great with or without him. That's
he was
not what
still
I'm trying
a
to
great
say.
passer.
I'm just saying
Right.
his team, he wouldn't have led his teams to
Regardless
a lot
of
of wins
Malone.
if he was the best player on his
But
team.
he wouldn't have been as good of a passer without Malone. But
Oh,
all right,
no,
let
he
me-
still would have been
he
great,
would still
man.
be as good of a passer. He maybe wouldn't have the same amount of assists,
He just
but he
wouldn't have
would
a big
still
man to
be
pass it
as
to.
great of a passer as he was. He was arguably one of the greatest, arguably the greatest passer of the game. Some people say that because he had the most assists, and I'm not saying that I believe that. I'm just saying that to say that Malone is the reason why when he had that many assists, I don't know. You know what I mean?
I understand where you're coming from on that, but I'm gonna move on. And number 3, I have Chris Paul. He leads the NBA in history in win shares. He's been great since the day he walked onto the court in the NBA. You can't.
Yeah,
it's-
in ESPN they have him at 6. So to be fair, that isn't that far off from 3.
but like the
But the difference, I think
don't
it's just
find
because
the
it's
debate.
3. It's so making my eye twitch a little bit.
you have to look at the way he improves teams. That New Orleans team without him was not in the playoffs, and they still had Peja Stojakovic in his prime. They
You
still
could
had
also
David
talk
West in his
about
prime.
this last series he was just in too, how he kind of willed the Rockets over the Warriors Look at how
until he was
bad-
injured.
Yeah,
Like,
that's what I'm saying. Look at how bad they were playing without him.
season after season, Chris Paul could have made it to the finals if he didn't get injured. It could have been a continuous thing.
Exactly what you just said about Chris Paul at the Rockets, because the Rockets' problem without Chris Paul is that
Ball movement.
the second half is my thing.
Mhm.
The second half
He kept them alive.
of the game, exactly, because the Rockets even in Game 6 and Game 7 they went out red hot first half. And they, what's it called? In one of the games they walked off the court with a 12-point lead, I'm pretty sure, or something like that, in the halftime.
Mhm.
And Golden State still turned it around. And that's why Chris Paul was such a vital part there, because this man was taken off on one of the best teams in the third quarter ever. In the second half, and that was vital to the Rockets, and that's why honestly, Chris Paul doesn't get injured, they win that series in my opinion. But that's not what we're talking
One
about.
thing though with Chris Paul as well is that he showed you in that series, even though he's only 6 feet tall, he was actually able to be pretty effective guarding Kevin Durant. So that's a pretty big deal in my opinion.
Well, Chris Paul's a much better defender than he gets credit for. He's got really quick hands. He's really fast.
He's been in the defensive guards every single year. The All NBA defense.
I see the NBA people giving him credit for it. I'm saying people outside of that don't really
Right,
give him
right.
enough credit
Yeah.
for it. But
Idiots.
but my last 2 are the same as Zeke's: Isaiah Thomas and Magic Johnson. It's 2 then 1. I'm not. Isaiah Thomas is not better than Magic Johnson at all.
Here's the thing.
Yeah,
Okay,
I mean,
I don't know if my
I'd rather
friends will
have Steph
ever-
Curry than Isaiah
Yeah.
Thomas.
I mean, that's an argument there too. Okay, I'm actually fine with that. I could see that, but I just want to say something.
And Chris Paul.
Okay,
Okay,
look, I just want to
And
get
Chris
on with
Paul,
my
yeah.
point.
Whoa,
Look, here's the
I was
thing.
being honest with
Whoa!
dude, you're
It's a
I-
more
it's just
versatile
you're being
game.
so disrespectful
More
to
versatile
Isaiah,
game.
bro. Yeah,
That's
he's
so
not
much
some scrub, man.
disrespect.
He's a 2-time champion.
I
the
never
best
said
of
he
his
was a
team.
scrub. I never
But
said
you're treating him
I
like
never-
one.
Okay, I'm just saying those players could play in
If
any
we're talking
NBA.
about the best point guards ever,
Dude, I
he's
don't
not
like
calling
that.
him a scrub if he's still even in the
Yeah.
conversation.
Look,
Yeah, I know.
but
I have Isaiah Thomas at 5.
Put some respect on that name.
Look,
I have Isaiah Thomas at 5.
Then tell us your 5.
My
No, hold
5?
up.
Oh,
I wanna hear your
I
five.
just don't like that era argument, because some people are built for their era, and saying if they're in another era they wouldn't be as good. Of course they wouldn't.
It
They were built
depends.
for that.
No, but it depends. Okay, what I'm saying is this. I'm saying it depends though on how you're looking at it. From your perspective, I understand what you're saying, but from my perspective, and I'm looking at the way I see it is this way, right? Is it the player is the best player is if they are able to play in every single era. If they are able to play as well in every era. So my thing is that Steph Curry would be really good in every era because he has that crazy shot. Now that's a lot of things that people didn't have. Now you're gonna say the hand check and all that stuff, but that wouldn't matter for Steph Curry's game because he's never gonna have to put himself through that. He would just shoot on the outside, and that's something that a lot of people wouldn't be able to guard that well. Now also with Chris Paul, I mean Chris Paul can just do it all. Like I mean you can't say his size is a problem because like Isaiah Thomas is like the same exact size. So my whole thing is like I just feel like those players could potentially play really well in that same era, in any era. So that's why I feel like, but the thing is though with Isaiah Thomas, he cannot play as well. Wait, Isaiah Thomas would not play as well in this era because he had no outside shot. Now, if you're saying that if he was brought up in this era, he'd have a better outside shot, I can buy that. But the thing is though, he wasn't, so I can't really determine that. I can only determine what I've seen. I can only determine what's there.
He's arguing with me, bro. Let me say something. Okay.
Bro, just talk, bro. You don't have to ask each other to talk.
Okay, but I just, the reason why I feel like it's unfair is because a lot of the guys in the older eras, because you could take a lot of guys in new eras, put them in the old era and see that they still be successful, but the guys in the old eras, they didn't have to learn all of those things that we do in the new eras.
But some guys did.
In terms of this list, we're basically punishing them for that, and I don't think that's fair because they didn't have to learn that. That wasn't their role on the team. They didn't have to do any of that.
I know, but that's a separate argument from my argument. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying if you look at it from that perspective.
But what's your argument for it then?
I just told you.
I know.
If they were able to play in in any era, how would they pan out? So my argument is that now if you're saying if you're going to put into perspective that if they're getting brought up in this new era or whatever era that they're playing in, they're obviously going to be a different player. But the thing is though, we can't. In my opinion, we can't really determine that because they didn't do that. Now, I do think players would be better if they're brought up in this era. Like players like Larry Bird would be an even better player if he was brought up in this era. But the thing is, though, that's a different type of argument. Now, with your argument, I understand what you're saying, but it is a little bit harder to determine because we haven't seen it. That's what all I'm saying. That's why I'm saying it. That's why I'm arguing it that way because you can't really. It's like what Kobe was saying about LeBron, MJ, and himself. Like, don't talk about something. Don't debate something that can't be definitively answered.
Let me get this straight. Zeke, the way you go about this question, who did the most in the time that they were there? Correct?
Yeah.
Okay. And then Brandon, you're arguing who would be the most versatile player at any point in time in the NBA.
Like, yeah, who could play well in any era. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
I just think that
I just wanted to clarify that.
I just feel like we both just had different reasoning
But
for why
okay,
a player
I just want to
was
say
better.
this though. Do you think though then that Bill Russell was the greatest player of all time?
Yeah, I feel like he's top 5.
No, I said the greatest because he did do the most stuff.
No.
I'm just asking because like
Me?
Yeah, I'm just
Well,
saying.
there's more context to it.
You just said the most.
No, but there's more context to it because Jordan was able. I would say, well, Jordan obviously didn't do much, but Bill Russell had
Didn't do
6
much, I mean,
All
do
Stars.
as much.
Yeah, Bill Russell had 6 Hall of Famers
fact.
around him. The difference is there's always context to everything I say. I always make sure my facts are straight when I say things. So I'm not just gonna say, oh, Bill Russell's the best all time because he has 11 championships. Of course, he has so many accolades.
That's my point. But that's what I'm saying. The context, though, if you brought those players into that era, you have to put them in the context of that era, and they have to put the players from then in the context of this era. But you can only do that with what you definitively saw. You can't do that with you definitively haven't seen. Like if you haven't seen a person shoot a 3-pointer, can you tell if they're good or not?
Well, there's film, dude.
No.
There's so much film for it. You can always look back and look
No,
at that.
but what I'm saying is that what you're saying is that if they're brought up, then that's an argument. But I'm saying though, if you haven't seen that, then how can you definitively say that they would be good at it?
You mean like live?
No, I mean like if you say.
Wait, do you guys know what he's?
I know what he's saying. He's saying that he's not I'm just gonna ask you what you think. No, he's not talking about what he's seen live or what you saw live on TV or in person. He's talking about overall career, what they saw was completed. So he's saying you can't say somebody was or could have been a 3-point shooter if you never saw him take a shot.
If you never saw them be a good 3-point shooter, how could you say that if you haven't seen it?
He's talking stats-wise.
I'm not saying.
I'm not talking stats-wise.
No, hold
I'm
up.
just saying
I'm not
if you
saying that.
haven't seen someone shoot a 3-point shot, you can't see that they're good at shooting a 3-point shot. So to say someone could have been a better player than they were, I do think that's a reasonable thing. But if you're saying just on what you face value of what you saw, that's a different story because it's hard to argue that someone would be better than what you've seen because there's no evidence there to say that they would be better.
But I feel like in that sense, though, then just like all the new guys would be better. Because
you could say that.
But I don't really like that because like
not all of them though, because there are players like Michael Jordan who could play well in every era.
But you know that every single young guy says LeBron's better, but everyone knows that's not true. Dude, if you go on Twitter, there are so many jokes of people slandering Jordan. Everyone thinks that LeBron's better now. Don't you agree
People always
with
bring
that?
up he played against plumbers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm talking about people in the NBA though, because there are not people. No, I'm saying there are not a lot of people in the NBA though that slander Michael Jordan.
Right.
And that's what I'm saying. People who actually know basketball, who are playing it, don't say Michael Jordan was just a bum. There are players like Jamal Crawford who said Michael Jordan would easily score like 40 points a game in this era easily, no problem. So he'll be way better than any other player who's playing. He's like, there are people who say like LeBron is a great player, but Michael Jordan's a superhero. Like that's what I'm saying. There are people. Even Larry Bird was like, that's just like God out there pretending to be Michael Jordan or something like that. But it's just like, there are people though who don't disrespect other players like that. And I'm saying there are players who their games would translate in today's game. But like if you haven't seen it, I don't know how I can say that that they would make it because I haven't seen it.
My whole point is
everyone. Well, because let me just get this straight because everyone always talking about like Ben Simmons and stuff and how he's just gonna be. He could easily just become a better shooter, this and that, and it's like, well, my opinion on this matter is that look, if it was that easy to become a better shooter, everyone would do it because this is basketball, and to win, you have to take shots that go in the basket. So if you want to be a better shooter, it would be good for you. So anyone would be a better shooter if they could, but not everyone can, and that's why you can't say that he will be a better shooter because why wasn't he already a better shooter?
Because they didn't need him to be?
That's what I'm saying. Because look,
Big facts.
all it matters is rings and accolades and what you accomplish. All right? And if they didn't need Isaiah Thomas to shoot the ball and you take someone from this other era and you're like, well, they can shoot the ball, so that's
But people were shooting in Isaiah's era though.
he could shoot
when it was
couldn't shoot as
introduced-
well as Steph, but what I'm saying
He
is
couldn't shoot as well as a lot of people.
Isaiah
He was able to score. He was able to score.
He could still
better
make
than
jump
a lot
shots,
of people.
he was pretty good at that. Not like 3-pointers, but he could make jump shots,
He
bro.
could make jump shots. I understand, but I'm saying though, just because you could say someone's going to be a better shooter doesn't mean that they are, because it is hard to be a great shooter.
When the 3-point shot was introduced, it was seen as a gimmick, as a joke.
And it was right when Isaiah was in the league too. Like
Exactly.
they just introduced it.
So that's why he wasn't a better shooter. You can't be like, if he wanted to be a shooter, he would have
That's
been.
what I'm saying. I just think it's unfair.
The league wasn't in that kind of game. Even 5 years after that, the league still wasn't in in a 3-point centric game. It only became like that after, like Larry Bird took advantage of it because he could do it, but Isaiah Thomas didn't need to. A lot of players didn't need to. Michael Jordan specifically stated, "I could shoot threes better, but I don't need to."
No, and I get that. But what I'm saying though is that because he's saying he could be a better player, he said this earlier, if he was raised in today's era, right? Because he would be a better shooter. But I'm just saying, it's not that.
Well, I didn't
easy
say exactly that.
But it's like summed up. Would you say that's?
I would
what you
say
said?
that the way that the way he was raised from his era, he learned how to play some of the guys in the past, and he also brings something new to his game. If he grew up in this era, he'd learn how to play with the guys like today, but he'd also bring something new to be great, and that's what makes people great, is they bring something new and they win.
But don't you agree though that it is hard to say that someone could just do that? Like someone could just after not seeing them.
Well, of course.
That's all I'm trying to say. That's it. That's the base of my argument, is that just because you want something doesn't mean you can have it. And partially it's like, okay, yes, he could be. It is very possible that Isaiah Thomas could become a better shooter in this era. I'm not saying it isn't. I'm just saying, though, it is hard to be a great shooter, though. And so to say that he's just automatically going to because he was raised in this era just makes it seem like you're taking away how hard it is to actually be really great at shooting.
Well, I'm just saying that he would have a better chance, but if he grew up in this era, he might have not, okay, look at this. Everyone's trying to be like Steph now. You have so many guards that can shoot, and everyone's trying to model against him. Of course, if Isaiah grew up in this era, he probably would have said the same thing about Steph. Would he be as good? Probably not. Steph's the best we've ever seen. My whole point to make was just that it was unfair to mark him for that.
The greats are going to be great, period. They change the game in a way that no other regular player can. So I don't give a crap if Isaiah Thomas grew up then or now. He's changing the game for the better, and he's being a good player. It doesn't matter what era he grows up in. He's
Also,
still going to be great.
He he might not even have won those 2 championships if they weren't able to like beat up Michael Jordan all the time in the playoffs.
What do you mean? Like,
You not remember the
no,
Jordan
I know he beat Jordan. I know he beat Jordan. I know he beat Jordan, but why does that?
Though.
But when they beat him up and they used the physical defense, but that's the way the NBA
was. The rules,
was.
Though. No, I was just throwing that into context because like you said the 2 chips, and I'm like, well, if you look at it though, if you weren't able to beat up somebody back then, Isaiah Thomas's team wasn't as good as they were.
I think what's more important is that they just beat Jordan.
Plus, Joe Dumars and the other, I can't remember their names right now. The other players on that team, they weren't no scrubs. Joe Dumars is in the Hall of Fame, and
He's a really good defensive player.
And I think 2 other guys on that team are also in the Hall of Fame besides Isaiah Thomas.
Rodman, if you don't know.
Rodman. Rodman was on that team. Bill Laimbeer.
Yeah,
those
are the 4
guys
guys I
are all
can
in the
name.
Hall of Fame.
Yeah, but Jordan
they have
also
a
said
fifth,
that Bill
I think.
Laimbeer is a very dirty player.
But what,
Yeah,
but
so
why
was
does
everybody.
that matter to this context, though? I don't feel like being dirty to Jordan has anything to do. Shouldn't knock Isaiah's legacy.
Everybody back then was dirty, and everyone played Jordan the same way after they saw it worked with the Pistons.
It's not knocking his legacy, but I mean, it does definitely change. It would have changed the course of history. Absolutely.
You mean
because
if
Jordan
they
would be
didn't?
fresh every freaking game.
In that era, it was okay to do that, though. It was okay to do that in that era, so they didn't really do anything wrong.
No, I'm not trying to take a.
We're not saying you did anything wrong. What we're saying is it would change the course of history.
That's what all I'm trying to say is that because if you're looking at his accolades, it would have changed his accolades if they weren't able to rough up Michael Jordan.
I mean, but if you weren't able to rough up Michael Jordan, then Michael Jordan probably wouldn't have retired the first time, even if his dad still died.
Oh,
I mean,
it wouldn't
there
have
are a
just
lot
changed.
of reasons why.
There's a lot of reasons he retired the first time. But I'm saying his body would have been so fresh. Think about it. Michael Jordan wasn't getting beat up every night. He'd be at the longevity
So just
of
imagine
LeBron
him
James.
in this NBA.
He'd be at the longevity of LeBron James.
You could even say even without that, he would be greater than that too, because he was averaging like 20 points per game when he was like 40. So like
yeah, but when he was 40, like the hand check rule thing happened, and it was kind of like debatable.
no, but that's
Yeah.
what because I was just saying that's what you just said though, because if the hand check rule wasn't there, he would probably be even better, like just overall than like the longevity of like a LeBron type player.
Yeah, good point. Good
Dude,
point.
honestly, I'm not saying Isaiah Thomas isn't a top 5 point guard or anything like that. I have him in my top 5, and that's a good thing about these types of debates. Like me personally, I feel like some other players would be easier to build a team around than Isaiah Thomas. I do think though you wouldn't have any problem building a team around Isaiah Thomas though, because at the end of the day he's still a great player, and at the end of the day all those players on all of our lists are great players. Now, even though Big Chub thinks that Terry Rozier gives Stockton the work. Like,
when did I say that?
Oh yeah, all right.
did say
Yeah,
that.
all
You're just making me
right.
look bad.
Bro, you definitely said that.
you definitely
Yeah.
said that.
I'm saying Terry Rozier is a better athlete because that's the way the entire league's going. That's the way things are now.
I'm glad
If
you
John
changed your.
Stockton,
you
I
changed your
never
narrative
said
now.
that. Oh my god.
Okay.
You're just trying to make me look bad on purpose.
No, I'm
What?
not, bro.
You want
We're
Chubb
just getting-
facts to be better.
Yeah,
We love
we're
you.
just transitioning to Chub facts right
No,
now.
I was supposed to talk about Chub facts.
No,
right now.
listen. I think John Stockton wouldn't be able to defend a lot of guards today.
Bro, he was a
He was
really
such
good
a
defender.
such a good defender.
Shh, let me finish.
Okay, you can go for it.
Because his athleticism is not on the same level, and the way players take care of their body nowadays, he wouldn't have been able to keep up with them night in and night out.
It's
That's a period at the end. That's
Yeah.
no debate.
It's not a well. I mean, there's a debate.
I mean,
Not at all.
It's not all about.
To say that he wouldn't be.
If you're gonna do that to the rest of the people, you have to do that to Stockton too, though. You can't just be like everyone else takes care of their body way better, so he couldn't guard them.
Okay.
Well, he would also be doing that. Chub.
This
Stockton
goes
was
back to my Aaron
smaller.
thing. This goes back to my Aaron
he was
thing.
also very fundamentally sound.
This goes back to my era thing though. Just because you can't be like put Stockton in this era and he can't do this. That's not fair because he didn't play against guys like that and wasn't built like that.
I don't know. I feel like Stockton, though, regardless of his size, I know that's going to be a factor. The way he played defense, though, it wasn't like anyone was ever taking advantage of him. Even when he was like guarding someone with a mismatch, he would just find their weakness and steal the ball. Like he had a lot of steals. I think he had the most. Is it the most ever in the NBA?
He leads the NBA history in steals.
So with that being said, like he could probably make up for a lot of things even if he does mess up because he was very good at picking off the ball and just getting steals in general. I can see what you're saying though with athleticism, but to me I feel like John Stockton was a very like fundamentally sound player that like sometimes when you just have really good fundamentals, that's really all you need, especially on defense.
But the thing about John Stockton is there's a difference between being a good defender and getting a lot of steals.
Oh, he's a great defender. Sorry, not just a good one.
He's
a
great
good
one.
defender, not a great
defender.
defender.
He's a great one.
Let me finish my point. I didn't get to finish my point.
Okay.
I just wanted to say real quick about what's it called? With defense, this ain't even that big. With defense, you don't only need the fundamentals. You need aggressiveness.
He was
You need
aggressive.
energy. And yes, he was. But I'm saying you need more than just fundamentals when it comes to defense.
He was a
If you're
gritty
gonna-
player.
You need aggression. You need drive.
If you're gonna call John Stockton a great defender, you have to at least acknowledge the fact that he couldn't guard Michael Jordan for crap.
He was a point guard who was
Michael
6
Jordan.
foot.
GOAT. That's
Yeah.
Michael Jordan.
He was.
Let me finish.
Who
my
could
point.
guard Michael Jordan?
No one. But that's the thing.
Then why should we bring that into account if no one could do it? If no one could.
Jordan.
Let me
When he
finish.
was
We're
40 years old,
speechless right now.
He dropped 40, right, or 39. That's not Stockton's fault, bro.
Let me
He's like-
finish though. Like Gary Payton would clamp up Michael Jordan and he'd drop 29. But Gary Payton's a better all-around defender than John Stockton is.
I mean, Michael Jordan said Gary Payton didn't really do anything to him.
Also, Stockton is a very regressive player, and he was on the record of a lot of players calling him dirty just because of how
Yeah.
aggressive
He's a
he
gritty
actually
player, to be
played.
honest.
So when he guarded Michael Jordan, he would do whatever he actually could. Literally, he'd throw his body at him if he had to.
During a game, Michael Jordan actually told me, like, you play dirty. And it's like, yeah, he did, you know? But I mean, I'm not a big fan of the playing super dirty all the time, as like I said earlier. But, I mean, he did what he had to do. And at the end of the day, I just feel like just because he doesn't look like your prototypical, like, great point guard doesn't mean that he wasn't great.
I don't think he's not great. I just think
You said he was just good. We've been saying
I
that
said
the
he
whole
was just-
time. We
I
just
said he was just a good defender, not a great defender.
You said I don't think he's not great.
Chuppex.
And then you just said before you said he's
he's a
not
good
great.
defender, not a great defender.
Yeah.
But if we're gonna talk about Michael Jordan saying stuff, I just thought of something really funny.
What?
How he basically ended Muggsy Bogues' career.
Oh, yeah. Oh, do not say what he said. Yeah.
You can censor
Yeah,
it.
it's so mean.
I'm not censoring
He called him a
this.
midget, and he called him a bunch of
You
stuff.
can say it. You can say
and it's
effing.
so mean. And Michael Jordan just ended careers, and that's how dirty Michael Jordan was. It's not even that bad.
No, it's okay. I just didn't
Muggsy
want you
Bogues
to
is
say
just a little
that.
sensitive.
No, look, a little sensitive. By the greatest player of all time, basically trashing you.
Yeah.
Completely.
I mean, he deserved to be
It's like
trashed.
after the game, he starts crying, and the teammates
Hey.
are like, "Dude, you're so sensitive."
he's like, bro. I mean, Steve Kerr did get a black eye, I think, from Michael Jordan.
Yeah, they
in
just got into a
practice.
fight
And then
and just
So-
punched
you know
him
what?
in the
You know what he
face.
said after that? He was like,
said-
"It was my fault. I deserved it.
I think
I was
s-
being mean." I'm like, bro,
I think Steve
you're
Kerr said that was the best thing that ever happened to me. or
Yeah,
something.
exactly. He said it was the best thing that ever happened to him. I'm like, bro, you're tripping.
Which the thing about it is, I think
Buddy tweaking.
Yeah.
that's a big thing because Michael Jordan would be mean to his players, and LeBron's just like way too nice.
Well, Michael Jordan was.
He didn't look too nice when JR ran off with the ball.
That's because
Yeah,
JR's an
no.
idiot. He was drinking Henny mid-game.
Chub facts.
Let me just also say that we're not saying he actually did that. Just to put it out there.
Yeah,
I'm not
I don't
trying to
actually
slander-
believe that.
Not trying to slander him.
Yeah.
JR.
JR, that was really idiotic. But he's done
so-
that before. He did that with the Knicks. I was looking back on it because people were releasing videos.
Yeah,
He's
he
done it
did.
like 5
It
or
was
6
on the
times where he
news,
just
yeah,
forgets
yeah.
the score. How do you forget the score of a game that close?
You gotta know something to forget it.
Yeah, you do have to know something to forget it. I just,
You just don't pay attention. Yeah,
what's
the score
but although Michael Jordan's teammates didn't hate him though, even though he was like, I guess, like mean to them, I think he was just more of like hard to him. The hard on them. I think the only teammate that did hate him was like Kwame Brown, and that's because Michael Jordan.
Kwame Brown a baby.
Kwame Brown. That's all you have
Kwame.
to say.
He's a soft baby.
No, Stephen A. Smith says
Stephen
it
A.,
like
where you
Kwame
at?
Brown.
I'm just saying is that the difference is that it was useful, like it was helpful to them. They actually liked it. So I think LeBron does need to be harder on his teammates sometimes too, hold them more accountable.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's a place to do it on in like with the media.
Right. Well, that's exactly
Yeah.
Like we don't know because he's been very adamant on. I'm not gonna throw my players under the bus,
Mhm.
and it's the same. It was why he walked off out of that interview. Which honestly, I would have walked out too. He
Yeah,
answered the
he had
question
every right
earlier,
to.
and the guy, what's his name, Max Schwartz or whatever,
I don't know, he
Mark
kept on
Schwartz.
asking the
Like
same
what's it called? Yeah, he
question.
kept asking him the same question and was just trying to trick him into throwing
they
him
just
under the
wanted
bus.
a soundbite.
Right, exactly.
Okay, but here's the thing.
Facts.
Here's the
I
thing.
would've thrown JR
I
under the
feel
bus.
like Jordan. Wait, what did he say?
He said
What did
he
he
would have
say?
thrown JR under the bus.
I definitely would have thrown JR under the bus. He's an idiot, bro.
One of the many reasons why you're not in the NBA.
Yeah.
No, I'm 6 feet tall and I weigh 300 pounds, and I. That's why I'm not in the NBA.
One of the many reasons, exactly.
Oh my
Bro, but JR, like,
Phil's,
If you could guard people,
He
that
still
might
think
be a
he's a
little
point guard though. He still think he's a point
He'd
guard.
be on the Cavs. He'd be like, all right, guys, I'm running point. Just letting you guys know.
LeBron's.
He's like, bro, I gotta take the ball up the court.
LeBron, right
He's like,
here.
He's like, LeBron, move out the way. I'm
Honestly,
taking the
bro,
ball."
in LeBron's system, bro, I would succeed.
Bro, chill out.
But warming the bench when he got to sit down for like a minute. He's like, all right, bro, Chub, move out the way. I gotta sit down for a sec.
No, I'd be sitting in the paint and I just run around back and forth.
You don't even
And
sit
then-
in the paint when we play,
Shut up. This is LeBron James, not Brandon.
Bro, you trash. You're not working in any NBA
Yeah.
system. Let's just be honest right there.
Nah, if I was on the Warriors, I'd just sit outside and chuck up threes all day
Okay.
like Nick Young.
Anyways, we don't have to talk about Chubb's game.
You got no 3-ball.
Yes, I do. I've just been off lately.
Lately, the last 6 months.
Hey, no, he made that one shot, that one clutch shot, and he's like, I'm the best 3-point shooter
He
of
was
all
like, I'm the
time.
best game.
For 3 straight games, I won the game. I finished
For 3 straight games, you play no defense, and then the 5 games after that,
I had
and the
4
2
blocks.
games before that.
Hey,
I had 4 block shots in those
okay,
3
guys,
games.
guys.
Okay, Clint Capella.
Now, although we do like to trash Chubb's game, I understand.
Screw you guys.
But the thing is that he does have some good parts of his game.
Absolutely.
I'm not. He has a decent crossover. He has a decent crossover.
He's just
Bro,
not
you just
fast
don't-
enough
you,
for
You
it.
can't guard me
Okay, wait.
ever.
Scared to guard you.
Chubb.
Scare me.
Chubb.
That's not good at all.
That's a
you shouldn't
problem.
be scared to scare
All right.
or anyone.
I know we all want to hear about Chubb's game. I get it. But I don't know if we should just keep on going on about this though.
Yeah,
So,
you're right.
Yeah. All right. I think today that we might just be wrapping it up unless you guys have anything.
that
else
was a
to
long
say.
one.
Yeah.
it was.
I guess only it was an hour and 2 minutes so far. But you guys have anything else to say you want to talk about?
Phil's
Nothing.
garbage at basketball.
Phil is
I'm
garbage.
just kidding. I'm just kidding.
He's not garbage.
No,
He's
He's
not
got a
garbage.
decent
You mean
hook.
Mike.
He's got
Yeah.
a decent hook.
Hey, you know,
Zeke, shut up.
okay, look, Phil is not garbage, he's like he's all right. He's all right, but anyways, let's just cut this one off. All right, thank you guys for listening to the Unbearables podcast. I'm Brandon Ruiz and I'm here with
Zeke Cappel.
Big Chub.
And Emilio.
All right, I'll see you guys.